I already saw this coming. I did warn you all, including myself, that this week would be a little bit more challenging, busier. And it was because of work obligations. I took on a last minute appointment because I really wanted to do it, actually. And, obviously making money is kind of important these days, right? So I did have to prioritize that. And then, if anything, I guess I can hold myself accountable about this. I did some socializing. Sorry, didn't think that was okay. But I'm here now, so let's get into it. Now, one of the most unique things about me is that my favorite color is blue, or teal specifically, turquoise and so on. And so, of course, the first two pieces I really enjoyed because I got to use a whole lot of that particular color or something related to it. And as much as I love blue, I had to break up with it for this piece. I decided to go with a citrine crystal to inform the very warm tones I added to my background and applied them in a very abstract sort of way, but I love the variation from white to a nice golden brown amber color. And what I've loved about this strategy is that I already have direction with the color scheme this way, and I can focus more on the composition. And after I created my source image, I outlined it with a fluorescent orange acrylic marker, which, as you can see, lights up under a UV light. And this was probably distraction number one for the week, because then I had to go around and put a UV light on my other paintings just to see. And obviously it was nothing to write home about. It wasn't even part of the plan, but I think the way I was excited about this is telling me I need to put more fluorescent colors into my work going forward. So if you like your neons and fluorescence in artwork, then this is the place to be. So subscribe, I guess. I couldn't help but try to work with solvents this week. I know, I said I wouldn't, but I had to, especially because of the drying time issue. And I have to admit, this definitely made the first application at least very, very easy. It went on really nice, it flowed really well. It almost felt like I was working with watercolor at one point, and it just felt good. I really liked that first application, and especially how quickly it dried. And yet, distracted myself with an acrylic real quick. Thanks, Jed Dorsey. It's totally your fault that I'm not working on my oil painting right now, but I'm messing around with acrylics. To be completely honest, what this challenge stimulated in me was a desire to continuously paint something, and it was frustrating to have to wait for the oil paint to dry, so the acrylic landscape challenge was a nice fun project to work on the side. Plus I got to work with acrylics, which dried really fast. I was able to complete every project within a few hours, and that was just a breath of fresh air for me, especially since I don't do landscapes. So new skill unlocked, know what I mean? But this right here was a distraction. Going to a local coffee shop where we had Harry Potter lattes, bitches. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Part of me thinks that my body is physically resisting to this new regime of doing something daily and productive in the artistic realm. My painting has been sitting here for a little bit, and I've been making the excuse that I'm still waiting for it to dry, but I've been using, odorless mineral spirits, which has been fantastic, by the way. But in addition to creating these distractions for myself, my body is physically resisting me doing anything, and I'm just finding it very, very interesting. I'm paying attention to it because, of course, the ego has its own ways of wanting to manipulate the situation, talk you out of doing the thing that's really good for you, but I'm paying attention to it. So right now, yes, I am feeling a little bit of physical pain. I am also feeling a little bit just fatigued and exhausted. I have been doing a little bit more actual work lately. And of course this weekend is full of rainy weather, and I love rainy weather typically, but it also does make a person lazy. So I'm experiencing a lot of this resistance basically, and I'm determined to not let it overwhelm me. I'm determined to not let it win. I'm going to give myself this chance to rest with the promise that I'm going to get the things done that I need to get done. I only just posted my flash sheet for this challenge that I'm doing with my tattoo flash just this morning, and it's a couple days late. So I'm still determined to finish this stuff and still, be ready to go into week D. Because after week D, I think, is the first break week, which is going to be nice. But I'm determined to get all the things done that I want to get done. I mean, again, this is about being productive, about being prolific, and I know my body's going to resist me along the way, but I'm determined to not let that be the case. So I'm just going to finish watching The Losers on Netflix and let Jeffrey Dean Morgan motivate me to get my ass moving again. I'll take orders from that guy. You gotta love how some of these movies, they wait till about like 10-15 minutes before they play like the title screen. I want to see a movie that plays it dead center, middle of the action, in the very middle of the movie. That's what I want to see a title screen, just for yucks, just for fun. If you haven't guessed by now, my chosen animal for this week was the crane, specifically the crowned crane. And if you can at all recognize the flower that I've chosen as well, there's a reason why I made the composition the way that it is and why I picked the flower that I did. This is a camellia flower, and I picked it because the center looks an awful lot like the crown on the crowned crane. So I wanted to superimpose the crane over the camellia flower in such a way to make it kind of mash up, but not in that typical kind of mashup style. I just thought it was a really fun composition, and so I worked on that and did my best to try to get a bit of an overlap. There were some areas of transparency I wanted to maintain. The wing was especially challenging because the backside of the crane's wing is white, but I didn't want it to cut across the camellia and obscure too much of the details in it. So I had to work on trying to get a transparent wash over that part without losing too much detail, and then maintaining as much detail as possible around the center, since that's also part of the bird. This is where things got a little bit more challenging, especially as I was trying to get more into like the fat part of the oil painting, because I'm trying to go for a little transparency, and yet I'm also going with more paint versus solvent and medium. So that was a little bit rough. And then of course this just made the drying time so much longer, and therefore even more challenging going forward. It was probably because of this that I had to more or less call it, because it's not to say that I was trying to quit, but I also wanted to apply what I learned incidentally from the acrylic landscape workshop. At some point, Jed mentioned that his instructor told him a really interesting thing. It's better to have a painting that's 10% unfinished than 1% overdone. And the timing couldn't have been more perfect, because with my tendency to be anal retentive and perfectionist about a lot of the things that I do, I thought this is probably a good opportunity for me to embrace it as it is and enjoy what it looks like currently. I mean, there are so many things to like about this piece. And that is how my week went. How was yours?